If resourceful learners are the explorers and knowledgeable learners are the navigators, strategic learners are the hard-nosed leaders of their own education. When difficult decisions loom and many possible options are present, they carefully analyze the situation and choose the path most likely to yield the deepest new learning. In 1911, Ernest Shackleton lost the race to be the first person to reach the South Pole. He set a new goal: lead the first team to cross Antarctica across the pole. He met with difficulty right away. His ship, the Endurance, became trapped in the ice, and he never made it to the continent. Eventually, the ship sank. He and his crew survived on an ice floe for 497 days. Eventually, they were able to launch lifeboats and set out for Elephant Island, the nearest island at 700 miles away. This is Elephant Island. From this remote island, he took a team of 5 on an additional journey of 800 miles in a 22-foot lifeboat to a settlement on South Georgia Island. 3 months later, he returned to Elephant Island with a ship and rescued the crew. All 27 crew members survived. All along the way, Shackleton faced life or death decisions affecting the lives of 27 other people. Most of us will not lead Antarctic expeditions, but every one of us will lead our own learning for our entire lives, at least after we leave school. We will make decisions, big and small, about how to learn new skills, new knowledge, and how to approach new and unknown demands, like buying a house, raising kids, supporting aging parents, leading colleagues, approaching the curriculum of a new grade level, or even learning and integrating a new curriculum framework into our practice. For learners to be ready to make these decisions and prepare for their life of learning, we need to design curriculum that allows them to make effective decisions. Each phase of this decision-making process would be important to consider. Here's one model of decision-making. In this case, a 7-step process. Step 1, identifying a problem to solve, or in a learning example, a goal. Step 2, gather information relevant to the meeting of the learning goal. Step 3, develop a set of options for meeting the goal. Step 4, envision outcomes and consequences if you pursue different options and make a decision. Step 5, plan how to execute the decision and match your action to that plan. Step 6, assess your progress toward the goal. Step 7, zoom out and determine whether and how you've met the goal. Determine the place of your new learning in the context of your prior knowledge. Finally, set a new goal and repeat the process. Each step along the way requires a certain set of skills and indeed deserves its own place in any curriculum. Here are just a few of the skills needed to accomplish each of these steps of a decision-making process regarding your learning. In order to set a goal, the strategic learner needs to be able to fully embrace the problem to solve, or the goal, to take it on as their own. They need to be able to envision the future, understand the boundaries of what they know now, and estimate how long this new learning will take. This allows them to set clear, specific goals of the right scale focused on the next logical area of learning. To pursue a goal and develop an approach, strategic learners need to gather information from a wide variety of sources about the landscape of their new learning. Some of this looks like traditional research when identifying relevant information, but it also requires deep and honest self-knowledge to inform the kinds of paths to success that might be successful. Finally, the accurate interpretation of all of this information is key. Once familiar with the landscape and in possession of a specific goal, the strategic learner develops a set of options to meet that goal. They have to consider new ways of learning, think about learning paths from other contexts, and even observe how others have learned before. Strategic learners develop more options than they need so that they can edit, refine, and take the best ideas from a variety of paths. In order to weigh these options and decide, they need to be able to envision the positive and negative consequences of each possible path, drawing on past experience and the experience of others. They need to know how to connect current circumstances to their past experiences to know what is relevant. Finally, they need to be able to settle on a decision and stick to it long enough to try it out. Even once a decision is made, there is so much more work. Planning each step requires the ability to clearly articulate the plan and to create a logical sequence. An essential part of a plan is being able to match your actions to the planned actions, which requires accepting full responsibility for your actions and, perhaps most importantly, managing your emotions around new learning and a new plan. It's all too easy for the less than strategic learner to reassess on the fly and find herself back doing things the same old way. Once arriving at a key waypoint or even at the learning destination, the strategic learner assesses their progress. To do this, they need a clear image of the goal and be able to objectively lay their progress next to that goal. This requires critical self-reflection and managing your emotions to stay focused on the future. Finally, in order to set the next goal, the strategic learner zooms out to examine the whole landscape of their new learning. They have to be able to synthesize what they've learned from their self-assessment to see where they went beyond the goal and where there may still be holes in their learning. They also need to map new learning and connect it to what they knew from before. Finally, each spark of curiosity, each tangential question that they did not pursue should be captured along the way so that they can use these for possible future learning goals. The depth and breadth of skill involved in strategically managing your own learning is profound. Indeed, teachers exist to help manage exactly this. You may have heard in these skills so many of the skills that you use before, during, and after each and every school day. How do we invite learners in to take more responsibility for these skills so that they don't experience the graduation cliff, not knowing after graduation how to approach learning in new contexts when there is more freedom and less direction? Each step of this process can be managed by the learner or the teacher. Schooling starts with the teacher strategically planning goals, learning paths, and assessment. The goal is, over time, to gradually hand this process off to learners. As we know, every learner is in a different place, and designing flexible curriculum allows us to provide opportunities for learners to take control as they are ready. Imagine a situation where the teacher and learner are sharing responsibility for setting a goal. Learners need to be able to embrace new goals. A teacher cannot do this for the learner. In order to get to this point, a teacher does need, however, to articulate the relevance of the learning goal, to answer, why are we learning this? To help the learner embrace the learning goal, the teacher might prompt the learner in various ways to envision the future and map their current understanding to imagine how this new learning fits. These are joint responsibilities. Finally, the teacher might ask the learners to estimate how long meeting this goal will take to inform the scope of a goal, and so that learners have the opportunity to develop this skill. Let's take one more example, developing options. It's an exciting day when a learner comes to you and says, "Could I approach this new project in a different way?" and offers an equally rigorous option that is more meaningful to them. In order to get to this point, you might have them contribute to a list of options along the way. Perhaps even you ask them to observe others and bring in options from other classes or contexts. What does skill development look like in soccer practice, math class, Girl Scouts, and piano lessons? How can this inform the options that we have for the current learning goal? To become a strategic learner, you have to develop all of the skills of making informed decisions. So while most of us will not lead an Antarctic expedition like Shackleton, as strategic learners, we are called upon to make some of the most important decisions of our life, our own learning path. To develop these skills, we need to start early. Needless to say, making a decision requires having choices. And our job as teachers is to offer choices that will develop these skills of strategic decision making. Thanks for joining me for Module 5, and see you next time.